What's going on, guys? It's Velocity Reaper here, and we are back again with another little Fortnite talk. It's something I want to talk about because it's something that actually came up on my mind, and I actually ended up creating a little script of the things that I kind of want to talk about. And this is going to be about a bloom reduction overall. Now, again, this is just a general suggestion. I don't expect this video to gain any type of traction and be like a revolutionary change in the game, but I think that this game has room for another reduction in their category of bloom. And obviously this game has a lot of weapons right now, and again, the loot pool is definitely growing, changing, and evolving pretty much almost every update. So things are always constantly changing, and sometimes they do have focuses on the weapons, and it just depends, but they don't focus necessarily on what the weapons actually do, more so how often they drop. So I think that's something that needs to be kind of talked about, because not a lot of people are talking about it. I think a lot of people are like, yeah, this game is really balanced and everything's pretty good and fair and everything like that in terms of weapons, but there's still some imbalances here and there. And I think that one of the biggest things that kind of hinder a lot of these really good weapons, or really could be good weapons, is bloom. So I had created a little script thing, and I'm going to go ahead and read it out. So before, actually, I'm just going to bypass the first part of it, because I kind of just say hey, I hit my shots. You guys already know that. We already know how we run on this channel, so we hit those. But I think overall, a good long-term idea to work towards, or in some sense try to implement in the future, especially with a shooting test or something like that, which I'll get into a little bit later because we haven't had one of those in a very long time, is going for a 5% or 10% bloom reduction. Now, you guys are probably geez, 5 to 10% is a lot, but that's why I chose a percentage rather than just saying remove bloom as a whole. I think that doing it in micro percentages is probably the best way to go about kind of making that kind of change, where you can find that sweet spot where players are okay, this feels really, really good as it is right now. We don't need another bloom reduction, kind of keep that right where it is. So it kind of gives them a chance to kind of test slowly increments of kind of decreasing bloom, because if you guys don't understand what bloom is, which I should probably explain, so when your crosshair is on somebody, and a lot of gamers are going to be okay, we know what bloom is, but these are for the people who may not know what bloom actually means, is that when your crosshairs, the little four lines that are on our crosshairs when we're aiming in Fortnite or any Call of Duty, but any other game, sorry, I'm really struggling to speak again today. Specifically in Fortnite, we're trying to focus on Fortnite, but specifically in Fortnite, that little crosshair that you have, your bullets can fire anywhere in that little crosshair. So that's why first shot accuracy is a thing, because it can only fire within that tight knit square that shows up on your screen. But then once you start shooting, it starts to expand, and that is called bloom. And bloom is what makes it so it kind of shoots in a circular, not necessarily a circular pattern, but sometimes your shots will hit, sometimes your shots will miss. That's what bloom actually is. Now, it benefits pretty much no one. No one benefits from bloom for the most part, depending on the weapon, and at range, I guess, is probably the only time that you would benefit. But a lot of even pro players kind of suffer from bloom, where there's just times when they should be hitting their shots and they're just not, because bloom does not work in your favor. And it all comes back down to that RNG factor of Fortnite, which makes Fortnite, a fun game. It is fun to kind of pick up random weapons and never know if you're actually going to come out alive or not. But sometimes when you have really nice weapons, really good weapons, you should be able to hit your shots, and I think that's something that's really annoying. So I think the most important part, something that could really start to change, is that one, it would be more rewarding for obviously people who have really good accuracy, but not too much for the point where the other person can't react. So in a situation where you're kind of running and you're getting sprayed at, that player who is able to keep their crosshair on you should be hitting their shots. But in other senses, it's not going to work that way, especially for weapons like the Silent Scar. I think is a really, really good example of a weapon where you don't always hit your shots, and you feel like you should be. So again, it would reward those players who can hit their shots, but also kind of be able to be mitigated by players being able to react fast enough. So I don't think you would have to worry about players hitting too many shots and killing you too instantly. I think that you would not even think about that when it actually is implemented. So my second point here is just 1.5, which is, I think honestly it would lead to quicker fights. And I think overall that, I'm not saying fights now should be quicker. I don't think that you should be dying in 1 or 2 taps, but I think that there's times when you are engaging someone and you shouldn't have to necessarily engage in a full-on build battle. There's been tons of times that I have taken out all of the person's shields and down to 50 HP, and then a build fight ensues, and it's at that point you're just man, 1 or 2 more shots and could have been the kill, but instead you actually have to engage in the fight. Now I'm not saying take away the core mechanics of what Fortnite is and like take away what makes Fortnite such a fun game, the building. But I'm just saying that in some situations, it seems like you should really be able to kind of eliminate that player then and there instead of having to kind of give them more time to get that recovery and everything like that. You know, I think give the kills that you deserve, you know what I mean? Like that kind of idea, which sounds really, really bad in practice, but I think it could work again with this small bloom reduction, not out of the question. So second main point here is that it would make higher rarities feel more worth picking up. So example that I put here actually is purple scar and gold scar. And I feel like you guys have picked up a purple scar and you picked up a gold scar most of the time in your matches, and you really don't feel that much of a difference. I mean, obviously there's a different color, and it's the most of the reason why we pick it up is like, oh sweet, I got a gold one, better pick that one up. But you know, that isn't always the case. Like sometimes you can get outgunned by a blue AR. So I think that having this be a thing where, you know, these higher rarities potentially actually have a reduction in bloom would benefit actually picking them up. And I'm not saying to, you know, really, really drastically change the loot pool. I'm just saying if I pick up a gold scar, I should be able to take someone out or have a little bit more accuracy than a person with a blue AR. And in some cases, it just doesn't feel that way. Again, depending on your bloom and your RNG, that person could hit 2 really clean headshots and finish you in you know, less than a second. And on the other hand, you know, you could have missed it 3 or 4 of your shots and would have been able to kill him on the other end. So it's a really weird situation with bloom that kind of changes the way fights are kind of handled in the long run. And then our last point here to talk about is still keeps the RNG aspect. And again, like I said, it'll keep the RNG aspect. You're still going to have some shots that aren't going to hit, but at least 80% of your shots should be able to hit, or 70% or 60%, somewhere in that range. I think 75% of your shots should hit is a reasonable number. If you shoot 4 shots, 3 of those shots should actually hit the player. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. It's kind of just a random thought off the top of my head, but I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like, sub up, share around, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.